Chapter 231, Being Doubted. Summertime, early in the morning. The heat wave still surged on in the entire world as if it was woken up along with the elapsing curtain of the night. After having breakfast, Tang Xiu rushed to Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. You finally came, Tang Xiu. With a bright expression on his face, Li Hongji stood outside the main building of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. At his side were several important leaders of the hospital as he took the lead to greet Tang Xiu. It's not 8 a.m. yet, I think. I didn't come late, did I? Tang Xiu smiled. Li Hongji shook his head. No, you're not late. It's just me who is impatient. Let's walk. I'll take you to your consultation room for you to take a look. If there's something not to your satisfaction, I'll order someone to change it. All right. Tang Xiu replied. President Li, I came to give medical service in the clinic, not to inspect the work. So you can let these leaders take care of their own work. Li Hongji had met Tang Xiu a few times, and he knew that Tang Xiu didn't like to show off and being in the limelight. With a smile, he then told the other leaders to leave and took Tang Xiu by himself to the consultation room to have a look. It's a good place. But I need your help to arrange a medical staff to directly assist me if there's something I need. After seeing the consultation room, Tang Xiu nodded and said, I'll personally help you. So I can learn while convenient by following you. Li Hongji said with a smile. No can do. You're the distinguished president of the Chinese Medical Hospital. If you become the saddle horse for me and the news spreads out, it would create a disturbance, wouldn't it? Please quickly arrange it. Tang Xiu said humorlessly. Hesitating, Li Hongji nodded and said, Then you wait here for a while. The service in the hospital will begin at 8:30. I'll go to arrange someone over here now. Thank you. Tang Xiu went to the examination table and sat down beside it. He looked at the stethoscope and the other medical instruments placed above, and then straightly stuffed everything into the drawer. He didn't use Western medical devices and had no need of them. Traditional Chinese medical practitioners paid particular attention to the close observation of the patient's words and appearances, as well as diagnosing their sickness through pulse checking to trace their conditions. A few minutes later, Li Hongji came to the consultation room with a middle-aged woman that still looked a little attractive. The middle-aged woman wore a white coat with both hands placed in the pockets. The appearance of a well-known doctor. Tang Xiu, I have found someone to help you. She's called Sun Wenjing, an extraordinarily skilled doctor in our Chinese medical hospital. She's also very good in medicinal ingredients as well as medical skills. I've ordered her to assist you when you give consultation to the patients. If you have anything you need, tell her, she'll definitely do it right away, said Li Hongji with a smile. Tang Xiu nodded, that's great. All right, you can take care of your work now. Sun Wenjing frowned. After she saw Tang Xiu's appearance, she felt that it was quite absurd. And now, upon hearing Tang Xiu speaking to the president with such manner, she suddenly couldn't help but ask, President, don't go first, please. Are you joking with me? You want me to stop my work to do miscellaneous jobs for this boy? Li Hongji's expression slightly changed as he sternly replied with a low voice, Shut up. Tang Xiu is a Chinese medical doctor with outstanding skills that I hired myself. Your job is to follow the tasks assigned to you by the hospital. If you can't do it, do tell me now and I'll take it back. Sun Wenjing reluctantly said, President, I can comply with your order resolutely. But, you want me to do miscellaneous jobs here for this a young man? Isn't this the same as wasting my time? He's very young. Even if he learned from a famous teacher and has been taught by an extremely skilled grandmaster Chinese medical doctor, he couldn't have learned many things within such a short time period, right? Don't stare at me like that, you know that I'm speaking the truth. Li Hongji stared at Sun Wenjing with an unsightly expression. He then immediately looked at Tang Xiu with an embarrassed smile. Tang Xiu, I know that you're big-hearted, so you mustn't take her remark into account. This woman only knows how to judge a person by their appearance. Forget it. I'll take her back and give you another excellent doctor. Tang Xiu himself was quite unsatisfied with Sun Wenjing. This woman ought to have some abilities as well, or else she definitely wouldn't dare to contradict the president. However, he only needed someone to do miscellaneous jobs, someone who would execute his command unconditionally. So he nodded and said, then replace her with someone else. This person is short-sighted, she wouldn't be able to be entrusted with a job with heavy responsibilities either. I'm here to give medical service, not to make trouble. Sun Wenjing's face changed greatly. She angrily glared at Tang Xiu and scolded, what did you say? You're the one who's short-sighted and can't take jobs with huge responsibilities. You're still young, but is actually so arrogant and domineering. Our president is very polite with you because our president is gentle and friendly. Li Hongji looked at Sun Wenjing with a foolish expression. Never had he ever dreamed that Sun Wenjing, who was usually enthusiastic and well-versed in social interaction, could turn out to look to be possessed today. Every line she spoke made him a bit angrier. He politely treated Tang Xiu, but she couldn't even tell what was the problem therein. Sun Wenjing, if you don't want to be suspended, just shut up. Humph, no matter what you do today, if you dare to offend Tang Xiu, it's equal of offending me. I remember clearly that I've told you that I've spent great effort to invite Tang Xiu, only then this Chinese medical grandmaster doctor agreed to come here. And I forgot to tell you one thing. Even my medical skills are far inferior to his. What? Impossible. Sun Wenjing was shocked. She looked at Li Hongji and Tang Xiu with disbelief. But even so, she sneered as she glanced at Tang Xiu with disdain, before she turned around and left the consultation room. She was in an extremely bad mood today. Her good-hearted mother-in-law was suddenly found to have a medium-stage hepatic cancer. The cancer cells had even spread. It was impossible to completely eliminate it. Her colleague who checked her mother-in-law told her that she perhaps only had 6 months to a year time left. Therefore, she was really hating herself for having poor medical skills, helpless to deal with her mother-in-law's liver cancer. She also hated those doctors who weren't really well-learned and talented but actually wore a white coat attire. Tang Xiu's age was likely only in his early 20s. And she didn't believe that Tang Xiu was a very skillful Chinese medical doctor, let alone that he was much more skilled than the president. In her view, the reason why the president tried to flatter him was definitely for another reason. She was only a doctor, but there was no need for her to curry favor with a young man who had no real talent and knowledge. Looking at Sun Wenjing's back, Li Hongji could only smile wryly inwardly. After giving Tang Xiu an apologetic look, he strode out of the consultation room. As he came outside, he quickly caught up with Sun Wenjing. He called out to her and scolded, "What's the matter with you today? As I usually favor you, I was hoping that you could help Tang Xiu and learn a number of powerful medical techniques from him. But you ruined such a good thing." Sun Wenjing didn't dare to contradict him, but still, she replied, "President, please don't joke with me. If that young man is really skillful, why would he need my help in the first place?" Li Hongji was fuming with anger as he shouted, "Shut up. Do you think with my character I would have to spend great efforts to prepare a consultation room for him to give medical services in our hospital if he didn't have deep knowledge and skill? If his medical skill wasn't that good, would I even try to be polite to him and do my best to make arrangements for him? I used to think that you were clever and well-versed in social interactions, but what's going on with you today? So, you're not joking with me?" Sun Wenjing was confused. Li Hongji replied in a deep tone, "Do you remember a woman surnamed Mu who once came to our hospital to treat her daughter's strange disease?" Sun Wenjing nodded, "I heard about her. Not even you yourself managed to treat that little girl's disease. That surnamed Mu woman took her daughter along, running all over the country, and no one could cure her daughter's strange illness. President, why did you suddenly mention this issue?" Li Hongji sneered, that's right. That woman surnamed Mu had visited hundreds of thousands of doctors from all the major hospitals, even the Chinese medical and the Western medical hospital. No one could cure her daughter's strange illness, but Tang Xiu did. She's healed now. For real. You're not faking it? Sun Wenjing's first response was that Li Hongji was lying. Do you think I'm lying? Li Hongji sneered. Sun Wenjing quickly shook her head. She knew clearly well about the president's character. Her abrupt reaction was driven by the contempt she had toward Tang Xiu. She didn't think the president would joke about such issues. Li Hongji continued with a cold expression, moreover, you also know about the 6 or 7 doctor experts in orthopedic and cardiology that were carrying out a surgery in a wounded patient. The patient had a steel nail lodged near the heart. You also have heard about this matter, no? I wasn't on duty that night, but I also heard about it. Don't tell me that the person who rushed to our hospital that night and removed the nail from the patient was him, asked Sun Wenjing. Li Hongji sneered, aside from him, who has such great abilities? You. I really don't know what to say anymore. Such a great opportunity and you wasted it for nothing. Forget it. The matter has gotten to this point, there's no use even if I lecture you anyway. You go back. Having said that, Li Hongji crossed his hands behind his back and lamented. Heaving a sigh, he walked toward the side corridor. Sun Wenjing was stunned and tongue-tied as she looked at the back of the leaving Li Hongji. Suddenly, regret sprouted up inside her heart. In the case, if President Li didn't lie, that Tang Xiu was really a very powerful Chinese medical grandmaster. Didn't she just miss an opportunity in vain? But even so, he was very young. Even if he began studying Chinese medical skills ever since he was in his mother's womb, that would mean that he spent only 20 years studying, wouldn't it? Even if his medical skill was powerful, could it be powerful to that extent? Thinking up to here, Sun Wenjing stopped thinking and curled her lips. She didn't go back to her office directly, but came to the inpatient department, looking at her mother-in-law who was receiving an intravenous infusion. At present, her mother-in-law's cancer cells were spreading, worsening her condition. If she didn't have prompt medication, let alone being able to live for a year or a half year, her time would be limited to 3 to 5 months. Chapter 232, Giving Medical Treatment. 8:30 in the morning. Putting on the white coat Li Hongji personally gave him, Tang Xiu sat calmly at the consultation table, waiting for the first patient to come. At his side, a young girl in her early 20s was constantly looking at him with a curious look on her face. Dai Xinyue was a newcomer in the hospital pharmacy, a college graduate who was hired just a few months ago. However, she also had a traditional Chinese medical practitioner background. Her grandfather was a traditional Chinese medical senior doctor, while her parents also engaged in medical work. Therefore, she also had some skills due to the influence of her family. Dai Xinyue was very curious about Tang Xiu and even worshipped him a bit because he was of a similar age with her. But he was unexpectedly able to become an on-duty doctor, which was definitely an amazing feat. Knock, knock. The consultation room's door was knocked, revealing several family members pushing a patient inside. Tang Xiu frowned. He knew the person who took the lead. He was originally the old man he saw when he kicked the plaque of the Rising Dragon Martial School, Yang Xianyu. Hello, Dr. Tang. Yang Xianyu bowed very low with a smile hung on his face. Nodding lightly, Tang Xiu got up and looked at the eyes of the old lady who was on the stretcher. His brows suddenly wrinkled. He walked forward and took the old lady's wrist to check on her pulse. After checking it quietly for half a minute, only then did he turn to look at Yang Xianyu, saying, "Have you checked her before? What did the other doctors tell you?" Yang Xianyu replied truthfully, "They said that she suffered a stroke. But I don't believe it." "Why did you say that?" Tang Xiu asked. Although my wife's symptoms are similar with the strokes, she can speak clearly, and the contents of her speech are about gods, Buddhas, and ghosts. It's very odd. I think she didn't suffer a stroke, more like she was bewitched, said Yang Xianyu. Tang Xiu nodded, you're right, she's being possessed. Yang Xianyu was surprised for a moment, his complexion then immediately changing. He quickly said, Dr. Tang, since you can see that my wife is being possessed, I believe that you must have a cure for it? I offended you in raising Dragon Martial School before, I hope you can forgive me with your big heart. Let bygones be bygones. Your wife's Dang Yang point on her forehead is being invaded by evil qi. But fortunately, she has a strong fire essence in her body that is keeping the evil qi unable to invade her sea of consciousness. Otherwise, she would have turned into an idiot already, saying Tang Xiu faintly. Hey! How can you say that? Yang Zhenting, who stood behind Yang Xianyu, spoke in anger. Shut up. Yang Xianyu's face changed, rebuking him in a deep tone. Father, this kid is talking irresponsibly. How come he says that mother is being possessed? The hospital has diagnosed a stroke. So we only need to follow the treatment and slowly nurture mother back to health. I believe she'll be all right. Pa. Yang Xianyu slapped Yang Zhenting's face and snapped sternly, if you dare to say one more word, you're not my son anymore. You won't see me again later. Upon hearing it, Yang Zhenting turned timid. He lowered his head and no longer spoke. Tang Xiu shook his head and said lightly, all of you, go out. Misunderstanding Tang Xiu's meaning, Yang Xianyu hurriedly said, Dr. Tang, please don't take my son's remark to heart. It's because of my improper teaching. In any case, you must save my wife. Please. Tang Xiu said, what I meant was for you and the other family members to leave. I will treat her now. All right. Yang Xianyu was overjoyed and immediately left with all of his children. Tang Xiu looked at Dai Xinyue and said serenely, take the silver needles you brought a moment ago and disinfect all of them with cotton and ethyl alcohol. All right. Dai Xinyue obediently took a box of silver needles and sterilized them, and then put them back to the box. Tang Xiu propped up the old lady and said, untie her coat and take off the rest except her underwear. Dai Xinyue hesitated before doing it right away, according to what Tang Xiu had ordered. Soon, the old woman was undressed. Tang Xiu then turned her around with her back facing him. He then took out a few silver needles and quickly pierced the acupuncture points on her back. Tang Xiu's fingers gently pressed the location of the silver needles as his fingers constantly moved along the body's meridian channels line. 2 minutes later. Cough, cough. The old lady woke up from her deep slumber. She coughed for a while before opening her eyes. Tang Xiu's eyes flashed. He pulled out the silver needles lightning fast and quickly pierced the Dangyang point on her forehead. His needle-piercing technique was extremely strange. He pierced on 3 points and pulled out 1 point, punctured another point and pulled it out again and punctured another 3 points. Twisting, pulling, and piercing. After having repeated this 9 times, Tang Xiu quickly pulled out all the silver needles. What a stench! Dai Xinyue, who had been standing beside the old lady, suddenly smelt a foul stench when Tang Xiu pulled out the silver needle from the old lady's Dangyang point. She could even clearly see a trace of gray-black gas drifting from the acupuncture point. Tang Xiu put down the silver needles and then gently held the old lady's face. With his 5 fingers, he exerted some effort to massage it, as the old lady's mouth askance and crooked appearance then began to change. Certainly, nobody knew that he was using Star Force to massage the old lady's facial muscles to fix her face. From the beginning of the treatment to the end, Tang Xiu only spent a total of 10 minutes. When Tang Xiu took back his hands, the old lady's appearance was almost the same as a normal person's. After taking out the silver needles on her back, Tang Xiu commanded, "Help her dress up." Then tell the patient's family to enter. At this moment, Dai Xinyue looked at the old lady's face with a blank expression and was startled upon hearing Tang Xiu's words. After that, she hurriedly asked, Tang. Dr. Tang, what did you just say? I'm really sorry, I was just distracted. Tang Xiu repeated what he had just said and then walked to the wash basin. He washed his hands before sitting behind the examination table. Shortly after, Yang Xianyu and some of his children came inside. When they saw the appearance of the old lady, each and every one of them exposed a look of disbelief. Dr. Tang, my wife, she. Tang Xiu said, I have treated her. This is just a minor problem, so I will give you a few auxiliary Chinese medicine prescriptions. After you boiled the medicines, give them to her. She'll fully recover after resting for a few days. However, I think that you should check the objects around her. She must have a few objects with yin and evil qi. If you don't pay attention to it, if later the evil qi invade her body again, treating her won't be this easy. Yang Xianyu was shocked. She's all right already? What? You don't believe me? Asked Tang Xiu. Yang Xianyu immediately shook his head and said seriously, I believe you, divine Dr. Tang. I have been with my wife in Star City for a long time, waiting for you to give medical service in this Chinese medical hospital. Thank you very much. Tang Xiu was surprised. Then, the last time I saw you in Rising Dragon Martial School was because. Forcing out a smile, Yang Xianyu said, last time I came to Star City was to find you. I heard the news that you treated a little girl's strange illness on Jingmen Island, so I know that you are an amazing divine doctor. Afterward, I've been asking around everywhere, only then did I know that you live in Star City. Jiang Feng, the schoolmaster of Rising Dragon Martial School, is my longtime friend. I happened to see him that day, and then I met you by chance. Tang Xiu suddenly realized as he nodded and said, if you see Jiang Feng again, please tell him that opening a martial school is a good deed for people to train a strong and healthy body, as well as defend the homeland. But if it's to be used to bully the common people, he should simply close his martial school earlier. Yang Xianyu said, Divine Dr. Tang. You actually didn't know. My old friend is an upright and just person. He hates people who uses martial arts and force to bully others. He'll even severely teach them a lesson. He was also furious that some crooks emerged in his martial school. He already disciplined and expelled them. He also has increased the supervision of the school. Tang Xiu said, I got it. Having said that, he quickly wrote a prescription and handed it over to Yang Xianyu, saying, now, go buy the items in this prescription. I've already written the ingredients that are needed to make the medicine. Do remember it well. Thank you, Divine Dr. Tang, said Yang Xianyu gratefully. Tang Xiu shook his head as he watched them leave. He then looked at Dai Xinyue and asked lightly, and you, what kind of impression do you have? The shock on Dai Xinyue's face hadn't yet subsided. Upon hearing his inquiry, a bit of admiration revealed on her face. Dr. Tang, you're really amazing. But, the evil qi you said before, I didn't get it. Tang Xiu replied faintly, if you want to be an excellent Chinese medical doctor, not only do you need to understand the patient's condition and, to some extent, understand about their injuries and feelings, you also must understand that some ordinary people might be in difficult situations. Such as the patient I just treated who was possessed. This world has spiritual qi, life qi, death qi, corpse qi, as well as baleful qi. If you encounter similar patients in the future, don't just analyze the symptoms of the patients. You also have to consider some unscientific issues. Those things really exist. I'll remember your teachings, Dr. Tang. Dai Xinyue nodded repeatedly. Tang Xiu was quite content with Dai Xinyue's performance. Compared to Sun Wenjing, who judged a person by their appearance, he thought that replacing her was really a good choice. Therefore, he decided to teach her as much as possible in his consultation time. Knock, knock. The door was knocked again as a young man that was covering his stomach entered the ward. After he sat down on the chair in front of the consultation table, he said with a pained expression, "Hi, doctor, I have a very painful stomachache." Tang Xiu said, "Give me your wrist." As the young man extended his wrist, Tang Xiu checked it. As a slight smile appeared on his mouth, he got up and walked behind the young man, grabbing his shoulder with one hand while the other patted his back. Pa, pa, pa. A series of beatings made several patients and their families who were waiting in front of the door look at each other in dismay. Even Dai Xinhua also showed a puzzled expression. Tang Xiu glanced at her. "Can you pulse check to diagnose the state of a disease?" Dai Xinhua quickly said, "A little. I learned from my grandfather. I can diagnose the general state of an illness through observation." Chapter 233, Reputation Spread Out Far. Since you can do that, then bear in mind that if you come across patients with blood and qi deficiency and shortness of breath, check them in accordance with their pulse beating to determine whether the qi in their meridian channels are clogged up. This will result in convulsions in their appendixes, causing severe abdominal pain. Pay attention to my hands' movements and remember the locations and the frequency of my beatings," said Tang Xiu. Upon hearing it, Dai Xinhua instantly realized that Tang Xiu was directing her in the medical techniques. She was immediately overjoyed and repeatedly nodded while attentively watching Tang Xiu's beating technique. 2 minutes later, the young man coughed a few more times before releasing a big, smelly fart, while the pained expression on his face disappeared. Tang Xiu loosened the young man and returned back to his examination table as he smiled. "Being young is a good thing. But you should also pay attention to your body. After all, a healthy body is your capital to a good life. In this way, you will only empty your body prematurely, very likely suffering in your sex life." The young man instantly understood Tang Xiu's meaning. An awkward expression was cast on his face as he said, "Thank you, doctor. I'll remember it. You're really a divine doctor. My stomachache was really bad just now, but after your beating, it unexpectedly doesn't hurt anymore. I can even feel that my body became comfortable and warm." Tang Xiu smiled, "You're welcome. This is what I should do. You should go now, there are other patients behind you." "Yes, yes." The young man came covering his stomach, but now he left with a straight waist and back. Several patients and their family members who were at the door looked at each other. They were just in front of the consultation room's door, a bit disappointed. But they didn't expect that Tang Xiu would be this skillful. He was even able to cure a patient with such a bad stomachache quickly and easily. Awesome. We really can't judge a person solely by looking at their appearance, just as you can't measure the sea with a pint pot. This young doctor unexpectedly has such amazing medical skill. He might become a world-renowned divine doctor in the future. It's really amazing. I've heard of quite a few skillful doctors, but none of them are so young. Coming for medical treatment in this Chinese medical hospital, it seems that this was the right choice. It's my turn. As a middle-aged woman walked into the consultation room, she handed over the registration form to Tang Xiu, saying, "Hi, document. I've been in a dizzy state lately. Sometimes I feel nauseous and often suffer from insomnia at night. Could you examine me and tell me what kind of problem I have?" Tang Xiu sized her up, noting that she looked pale with lips that a bit purple. Moreover, her forehead was also sweating, so he immediately replied, "I'll check your pulse first before talking about your condition." The middle-aged woman quickly extended her wrist. After checking her pulse, Tang Xiu found that her problem was not small. Not only there were problems with her kidneys' function, but also some symptoms of kidney failure. She also had severe anemia, and if it continued unattended, her body would collapse in 2 months at the most. After a moment of silence, Tang Xiu loosened the middle-aged woman's wrist and said, "Take off your shoes and socks. Move the chair over and sit in front of me." The middle-aged woman looked confused, but she still followed Tang Xiu's instructions. She sat in front of Tang Xiu and took off her shoes and socks. Tang Xiu took the middle-aged woman's bare feet and put them on his leg. Then, he rubbed and pinched several important acupuncture points on her feet as well as massaged them. The middle-aged woman exposed a pained expression as he then asked her lightly, "Does it hurt?" With a pained expression, the middle-aged woman nodded heavily, "It's very painful." Tang Xiu sighed, "You neglected your body too much. You have severe anemia and the beating of your pulse is very weak. In addition, your kidney's function is the most serious one. There are even some symptoms of its failure. If you don't treat it immediately, the consequences will be very serious. I'll give you some massage on your acupuncture points to relieve the uncomfortable feeling you have in your body. But if you want to be fully cured, you need to recover slowly. I'll give you some Chinese herbal prescriptions. After you buy them, boil the medicinal herbs and take it in the morning and evening every day for a month." The middle-aged woman asked, "Can I get well after taking the medicine for a month?" "You will. And you should become stronger," said Tang Xiu. The middle-aged woman was overjoyed. But she then hesitated, "But doc, are the prescribed medicines expensive? My family is quite poor. If it's too expensive, I can't afford to buy them." "It's not expensive, you'll only spend tens of yuan for the medicinal herbs," said Tang Xiu. Upon hearing it, the middle-aged woman was finally relieved and gratefully said, "Thanks a lot, document." Tang Xiu shook his head and gave her a massage for a few minutes. After that, he let her put on her socks and shoes. He then washed his hands and wrote a prescription to her. "Do remember to be sure to take the medication every day. Otherwise, your body will collapse." "I'll remember it." The middle-aged woman seriously nodded. Standing at the side, Dai Xinyue's eyes flashed. She had never thought that Tang Xiu's medical treatment would be this amazing. 3 patients came for treatment. 2 were consecutively cured on the spot, while he gave massage to the third one. But a trace of a rosy color appeared on her pale face, as even her expression, as well as the tone of her speech, was stronger than before. "Next patient." As the middle-aged woman left, Tang Xiu called out. This morning, Tang Xiu examined a total of dozens of patients. A small part of them was cured on the spot, while the remaining patients were treated with simple prescriptions to ease their illness condition. At this time, the entire Star City Medical Hospital's leadership, doctors, nurses, including a lot of patients who came to the hospital, heard that a divine doctor had appeared. Inside the hospital's conference room, Li Hongji and dozens of specialists and doctors of the hospital were all sitting on the conference table. They looked at a big LCD screen on the back of the room. On the screen, there was a video showing Tang Xiu's consultation room. For 3.5 hours, no one left the table for even half a step, nor there were too many words spoken. All of their attention was focused on the screen while a shocked expression covered on their faces time and time again. Huff. After seeing Tang Xiu's successful treatment of a patient through the screen, Li Hongji finally took a deep sigh. He turned to the dozens of doctors and specialists in the conference room and asked, "What do you think? He's the doctor that I personally hired. His level is surely able to enter your eyes, right?" Dozens of doctors and specialists looked at each other with bitter expressions on their faces. An old Chinese medical doctor forced out a smile and said, "President, you're joking with us. How can this young doctor be unable to enter our eyes? His medical skill is simply magical. I have been in the medical field for 40 to 50 years now, and there are so many patients and so many illnesses I have treated and seen. I have also met a lot of skillful Chinese medical practitioners, but I've never seen such skillful Chinese medical doctor such as him. He's simply a divine doctor. His attainments in medical skills are beyond doubt. Even now, I'm suspecting that there are no illnesses he can't cure in this world." Another old Chinese medical doctor sighed deeply. The corner of Li Hongji's mouth outlined a smile on his face. Looking content, his eyes swept everyone who was nodding and said with a smile, as the saying goes, there will come out talented people on behalf of the country with each more excellent in leading for several decades. All of us are old-timers, and the world will belong to the young in the future. It's just a pity that Tang Xiu doesn't have any ambition in the medical field. Otherwise, I genuinely wanted to make the masses feel happy with this. The old Chinese medical doctor who was the first to speak a moment ago replied, President, we must keep such a powerful young Chinese medical doctor like him. Let him say his conditions freely. As long as he can stay in our hospital, I believe that our hospital will be very famous. Li Hongji replied helplessly, do you think that I don't want him to stay in our hospital? I tried to the best of my abilities. When his mother was hospitalized here, I sent people to take good care of her with the best possible treatment in exchange for his consent to give medical services in our hospital. But he only agreed to do it in this summer vacation. After this summer vacation is over, he'll go to university. It would be difficult to make him come and give medical service in our hospital later. The dozens of doctors and specialists went silent. Li Hongji sighed, just forget it for now. If something is not meant to be, it's no use trying to force it to happen. I'll do everything I can to make him come to our hospital and give medical service here later. Furthermore, once the time is determined that he would give medical service here, we'll announce the news to the public at once. Tang Xiu's medical expertise is brilliant, so in the afternoon, you go to the inpatient department to select a few patients who are seriously ill or nearly incurable, and have their relatives send them to Tang Xiu's consultation room. If he can solve it, we will immediately announce that we have a divine doctor on duty in our hospital. Understood. Everyone nodded. Shortly before noon, Tang Xiu was at the hospital at lunch hour. Li Hongji personally invited him with Tang Xiu's assistant, Dai Xinyue, following them to lunch. However, for Dai Xinyue, being able to have a meal with the president gave her quite an awe feeling and trepidation. After lunch, Tang Xiu returned to the consultation room. He knew that there was a surveillance camera inside, but he didn't care about it. Even when the patients consulted with him as well as when he was treating them, he deliberately let the camera focus on them. In the afternoon, Tang Xiu diagnosed a lot of patients with serious illnesses. Although he couldn't cure them immediately, he gave them treatment to alleviate their condition. As long as they followed his follow-up instructions, he believed that these patients would be completely healed quickly. Tang Xiu had decided to give medical service at this hospital until tomorrow. After all, he had promised Li Hongji, but it was delayed for many days. And now, after giving medical services for a few days, he would also be quite busy later and perhaps would have no time to come here anymore. In the afternoon of the next day, Tang Xiu was in his consultation room giving medical service and teaching Dai Xinyue a lot of medical knowledge. He himself had a deep knowledge of various symptoms of illnesses of the human body. After he returned back to Earth, he had read a large amount of Chinese medical books. So the knowledge of a large number of illnesses and medical conditions gave him a base to his practical level and medical expertise. Knock, knock. The door was knocked as a young man along with a middle-aged woman came into the consultation room. When Tang Xiu saw the young man's face, his brows slightly wrinkled because he had seen him before outside the Chinese medical hospital 2 days ago. The young man was ridiculing him back then. Why are you here? As the young man saw Tang Xiu, he blankly stared for a moment before saying with astonishment. Tang Xiu replied indifferently, why can't I? Rich people also get sick and also need a doctor. What? Do you think I have no money and there's no way for me to work as a doctor? Chapter 234, Regrets. The youth's expression changed, looking awkward. He was secretly regretting inwardly, knowing that his mouth ran cheaply yesterday, offending a Chinese medical hospital's doctor. Furthermore, based on rumors, the said doctor was even an amazing divine doctor. He smiled obsequiously saying, Doctor, I'm really sorry for being arrogant before. A great person such as you, please don't mind and ignore the offense of a lowly person like me. Yesterday, I heard that an amazing divine doctor came to this Chinese medical hospital who often gives good consultations and cures illnesses quickly. Tang Xiu was not a narrow-minded person. Hearing the young man's apology, he slightly nodded and looked at the middle-aged woman sitting in front of the consultation table. Which part of your body feels uncomfortable? The middle-aged woman answered, it's my back. Tang Xiu checked her pulse. Her pulse indicated that her body was in good condition, only, there was a symptom clogging up blood in her waist. Therefore, he got up and said, get down on the sickbed over there. I'll give you a tweener massage once. You should have strained the muscles in your lower back. All right. The middle-aged woman followed Tang Xiu's instructions and lied down on the sickbed. After Tang Xiu traced the middle-aged woman's waist, he shook his head and said, it looks like your condition is not as simple straining your lumbar disc's muscles. It's much more serious, the lumbar disc in your waist is dislocated. If you want to fix the bone's position, I'm afraid that it will be very painful. Can you withstand the pain? The middle-aged woman quickly asked, can it be completely cured? Tang Xiu nodded, no problem. But it will take a few days to complete the treatment. You have to come twice a day, in the morning and evening, at the same hour. 3 days should be enough. The middle-aged woman nodded earnestly, saying, I can bear it. I'd have to trouble you for it, Doc. Tang Xiu nodded and started the tweener massage on the middle-aged woman. As he began to increase his strength, his fingers massaged across the middle-aged woman's waist bones therefrom. Once and twice, each and every time was stronger than the last. A painful expression was written on the middle-aged woman's face. The more strength Tang Xiu exerted, the thicker the pained expression on her face. And even afterwards, she repeatedly screaming again and again. 10 minutes later, when the middle-aged woman was almost at her limit, only then did Tang Xiu stop. Lie on the bed for now. Wait until the pain in your waist subsides. Immediately after, Tang Xiu called another patient in. After the patient was treated, only then did the middle-aged woman get up from the sickbed. After getting up, a surprised expression appeared on her face as she said, it really doesn't hurt anymore. Even my waist feels warm and comfortable. Tang Xiu said, do remember what I told you. Come back in these 3 days. If nothing happens, I'll be here for 3 days. All right. Thank you, doctor. The middle-aged woman said gratefully. Seeing such an amazing ability from Tang Xiu, the young man sincerely admired him. He faced Tang Xiu and said, I really have to thank you, Doc. My mother's lumbar disc has been disturbing her for a few years, often feeling pain while she's sleeping. If you can completely cure her, no matter how much money you request from us, we'll pay you. Tang Xiu was surprised, is your family very rich? The young man hesitated for a moment, we're not too rich. But I can say with certainty that our financial state is much better compared to the average family. If so, then you can give them to charity. That can be considered as thanking me, said Tang Xiu. Giving it to charity? The young man was surprised for a moment. He originally intended to donate the money via the red envelope to Tang Xiu, yet he was refused. He could feel that Tang Xiu was definitely saying it from his heart. For a moment, he was quietly ashamed inwardly for his superficiality and his previous arrogance. Inside the inpatient department. Accompanied by the inpatient department's head, Li Hongji came to a VIP ward. When he saw that a hospital doctor, Sun Jing, was in the ward next to the patient's bed, he immediately asked, why are you here? Seeing the president's arrival along with the inpatient department's head, Sun Jing quickly replied, President, my work is done for the day, so I come here to take a look at my mother. This patient is your mother? Li Hongji was surprised. Sun Jing nodded, yes. What's her illness? Asked Li Hongji. With a bitter expression, Sun Wenjing answered, she has a medium-stage liver cancer and is undergoing the hospital treatment. Medium-stage liver cancer? Li Hongji secretly sighed. If it was an early-stage cancer, it'd be possible to cure it. But after the cancer cells had spread, it'd be simply as difficult as reaching the blue sky. He wanted to say a few words to console Sun Wenjing, but didn't know what to say. After secretly shaking his head, he said, take good care of your mother. If you're too busy with your work in the hospital, I'll give you a holiday. Thanks, President. I have many relatives, so my job won't be affected. Shaking her head, Sun Wenjing replied. Li Hongji nodded. When he was about to leave, he suddenly recalled something. With a strange expression on his face, he said, your mother's illness is very difficult to cure. How about you take her to Tang Xiu and let him examine her? Tang Xiu? Sun Wenjing stared blankly for a moment before her expression immediately changed. In the last 2 days, a divine doctor was widely rumored to be giving medical consultation and treatment in the hospital. After she asked around, she knew that the widely rumored divine doctor turned out to be Tang Xiu. Now, she was deeply regretting her judgment of him, which was solely based on his appearance, even refusing to become Tang Xiu's assistant. However, even if Li Hongji said it, she was nevertheless somewhat unable to believe it. Because she didn't believe that Tang Xiu could treat her mother's medium-stage cancer. Furthermore, she didn't give Tang Xiu face before, and now, if she asked for Tang Xiu's help, she would die due to embarrassment. Looking at Sun Wenjing's expression, Li Hongji could tell her thoughts. He then faintly said, go and try. Tang Xiu's medical expertise is very powerful. Also, remember what I told you before. His medical expertise is better than mine. A lot of strange illnesses I can't tell heads or tails, but he's able to cure them. Perhaps he really has a way to treat a medium-stage liver cancer patient. If you think you can't lose your face, ask your relatives to take your mother to him. President, is he really that powerful just like in the rumors? Hesitating, Sun Wenjing asked. He's amazing. The reason why I asked you to take your mother and find him is actually that of my own selfishness. I expect him to create a miracle in the medical field. Said Li Hongji. Sun Wenjing's face constantly changed. Finally, a firm expression could be seen on her face as she said with all seriousness, President, I'll take my mother to see him. Li Hongji nodded, go. He has a very good character. When facing patients, he won't even care about your actions toward him before. An awkward expression was revealed on Sun Wenjing's face once again as she lowered her head and didn't utter another word. Time flew by quickly. Tang Xiu got quite a headache. It was almost lunch break, but the queue outside was still quite long. He didn't expect that today's patients would unexpectedly increase. This morning, he already treated 40 to 50 people, whereas the rest who were waiting in line outside was perhaps double that. After hesitating, he turned to Dai Xinyue and said, go outside and ask whose illness is rather urgent. I will only treat 3 more patients before taking a rest. The consultations will resume again at 2 o'clock. Dai Xinyue complied quickly and walked outside. Shortly after, 3 emergency patients were taken to the consultation room. After Tang Xiu treated them, 1 was cured on the spot, whereas the other 2's illness had turned for the better. Give way please. When Tang Xiu was about to take his white coat off and go to the cafeteria for lunch, noises came from outside. As the crowd made way, 4 or 5 people with pennants, who were possibly the patient's relatives, came to the consultation room. Someone who was at the forefront was the family of Tang Xiu's first patient, Yang Xianyu. What are you people doing here? Looking at their pennants as well the 5 people, astonishment was drawn on Tang Xiu's face. Yang Xianyu smiled, Divine Doctor Tang, you're a highly respected divine doctor. We know that you don't care about money, so we're too much embarrassed to give you red envelopes. Therefore, a family member of the patient who knows that you also have cured my wife contacted me. Each one of us wants to give you this pennant to express our respect and gratitude. Tang Xiu was at a loss whether he had to laugh or cry. My current status is a doctor. It is my duty to save people from impending death and help the patients. Your actions. Forget it. I accept these pennants. And thank you for your good intentions. Yang Xianyu and the others immediately revealed smiles, saying a deeply grateful word of praises and then leaving. Collect them and put them away, said Tang Xiu to Dai Xinyue. Dai Xinyue was astonished. We won't hang them on the wall? Tang Xiu shook his head, saying, no need. The patients and their families sent the pennants to express their gratitude. We've received them, so we don't need to care about these external objects. Awe and respect were written all over Dai Xinyue's face as she nodded heavily. It was only a short 1 to 2 days ever since following Tang Xiu, but her medical expertise had been rapidly improving and she had learned too many things. She even hoped that it would keep going. She had an idol, who was her grandfather. A quite famous Chinese medical senior doctor who dedicated his life to save the dying and heal the injured and had done good deeds for the entirety of his life. But in all fairness, she thought that her grandfather's medical expertise wasn't as good as Tang Xiu's, even much inferior. Therefore, her new idol now was Tang Xiu. Even in her heart, she already considered Tang Xiu as her teacher. Half an hour later, at the Chinese Medical Hospital's cafeteria, Tang Xiu and Dai Xinyue were having lunch whilst chatting about topics regarding medical treatment. Tang Xiu thought that she was really good. And in particular, he really liked her diligent, studious, and modest attitude. Therefore, he was also willing to teach her as much as he could. In these 2 days, he saw a lot of patients in the hospital as well as their relatives. Looking at their distressed expressions when they arrived and their overjoyed expressions leaving, it caused his heart to be full of satisfaction. Ever since he returned to Earth, he found himself having a distinct mentality that was completely different than when he was in the immortal world. At present, he was a full passion for life, with fighting spirit filling his being. Whether it was making money, taking care of family, or practicing cultivation, he felt that this kind of life was also another kind of happiness in itself. Excuse me. A female voice was heard. Tang Xiu stopped. As he turned his head, his expression suddenly became cold, because the person coming was Sun Wenjing. Chapter 235, Spirited. Sun Wenjing looked a bit awkward. But for her mother, she braved herself forward even if she had to disgrace herself. She smiled, Dr. Tang, I'm really sorry for what I did before. I'm too short-sighted and judged you by your appearance. In these 2 days, I've heard that your medical expertise and ethics are equally good, so please don't stoop yourself down to my level. A surprised expression was revealed in Tang Xiu's eyes when he heard it. He originally thought that Sun Wenjing came to pick a quarrel, but she unexpectedly came to apologize. Since she sincerely apologized, it was not good for him to give a cold face. As the saying goes, hit not the people who are smiling at you, instead reach out your hand to them. Therefore, he waved and said, let the bygones be bygones. But pay attention to it later. Sun Wenjing was secretly relieved. I must keep this lesson in mind, to not judge people by their appearances, and strive to face everything with an amiable and modest attitude. I've received your words of apology. Take a seat and have lunch with us. Dr. Tang, actually, there's one matter that I want to ask you, said Sun Wenjing. What? Knitting his brows, Tang Xiu asked. Sun Wenjing said, well, recently I'm in a bad mood because my mother is ill and hospitalized in our hospital. Tang Xiu asked with a puzzled expression, what's her illness? Sun Wenjing looked pained, liver cancer, medium stage. The cancer cells already spread out. Tang Xiu raised his brows, and your meaning is, you want me to treat her? Nodding, Sun Wenjing answered, rumors have it that you're a divine doctor. Even President Li admits that he's inferior to you. He said to me that if anyone in this world can save my mother, that person must be you. Also, President Lee told me out of his own selfishness, since he wants to witness a miracle occur in the medical field. For a moment, Tang Xiu fell into silence. He then slowly shook his head, saying, I'm not as good as people say in the rumors. I'm afraid that I can't do anything for your mother's illness. I'm really sorry to disappoint you and President Lee. Sun Wenjing begged, would you please give it a try, Dr. Tang? Please. No matter what requests you put forward, I'll try my best to fulfill them. Rather, we have brothers and sisters, will fully cooperate to meet your requests. My mother has brought us up, the 4 siblings, by herself until we grew up. She spent her whole life taking care of us and our children. You can say that she has yet to enjoy her life, and now, she has cancer. I really don't want to see her leaving us in pain and suffering from illness. So please, I beg you, try it. Looking at Sun Wenjing's desperate begging as well as taking a glance at Tang Xiu, as kind-hearted as she was, Dai Xinyue hesitated for a moment before speaking in a low voice, Dr. Tang, would you give it a try? The elderly are quite pitiful. Even if you can't cure her, the doctor won't blame you either. Tang Xiu sighed inwardly. He didn't like Sun Wenjing, but her filial affection touched his heart. After staying silent for a moment, he slowly said, I have 3 requirements. Please tell me. Sun Wenjing's eyes brightened up and quickly replied. Firstly, no matter what it is, the matter of me treating your mother must not be disclosed to anyone, not even Li Hongji. You must keep it confidential. Said Tang Xiu. I can do that. Sun Wenjing nodded heavily. Tang Xiu said, secondly, prepare 100,000 yuan and donate it to the hospital for poor patients. As for the people you want to donate to, find them yourself. No problem, said Sun Wenjing without hesitation. Tang Xiu continued, thirdly, discharge your mother from the hospital and return home. I'll come to your house every night afterward. If there are any medical instruments needed, you must buy them. Sun Wenjing hesitated a moment, asking, Dr. Tang, how long will you need for the treatment? My time is limited. If I can't cure her within 10 days, continuing the treatment is no longer necessary. Said Tang Xiu. After thinking for a few seconds, Sun Wenjing said, I'll prepare the discharge procedure for my mother this afternoon and will be waiting for you at home in the evening. As for my home address, I'll text it to your mobile phone. All right. Tang Xiu told her his phone number and sent her away. Dai Xinyue looked at Tang Xiu curiously and whispered, Dr. Tang, I know you for only a short time, but I can tell that you're a very confident person. Since you asked that doctor to take her mother back home, could it be that you have the confidence to cure her mother's cancer? Smiling mildly, Tang Xiu replied, You're thinking too much. No. I'm not thinking too much. I really admire your medical expertise. I can even say that you're simply omnipotent in the medical science area. From yesterday until today, I've been counting. There were a total of 168 patients that came to see you for consultation and treatment. 57 of whom had been cured on the scene, whereas the rest had their condition turned for the better. I myself believe that it wouldn't take long for their condition to be fully restored. Dai Xinyue shook her head and replied. You remember that clearly? Tang Xiu was surprised. With a light smile, Dai Xinyue said, The subject I'm actually most interested in is numbers, to begin with. I was applying for a math-related major in college when I was taking my CET. But my grandfather didn't want me to take it. Instead, he wanted me to take the medical school. So, I took math as a hobby and I'm very good at remembering numbers. I got you. But since you're that confident in me, I'm afraid that I'll let you down if I fail to cure her mother's illness. But be at ease. I'll try my best to treat her mother for you to keep your amazement toward me. Tang Xiu said with a laugh. A splendor flashed from Dai Xinyue's eyes. At the same time, a cunning light also flashed from her eyes as she smiled. If you can cure that doctor's mother, I'll worship you as a teacher and I'll study medical skills from you with all seriousness. Wanting to be an apprentice to study medical skills? A strange expression was cast on Tang Xiu's face. He did take some disciples, but those apprentices of his were learning cultivation from him. It was the first time someone asked him to be his apprentice just to learn medical skills. Suddenly, his interest was piqued. He suddenly imagined his apprentice eventually becoming a prominent great figure in the medical field. The thought was really interesting. Looking at Dai Xinyue's elegant face, Tang Xiu nodded. To be honest, I have never had any thoughts on receiving a disciple in this field. All right. If I can cure Sun Wenjing's mother, that will prove that my medical expertise is good. By that time, I'll take you as a disciple and teach you my medical skills. Dai Xinyue, who was originally probing, was suddenly pleasantly surprised upon hearing his reply. Thanks, teacher. I believe you'll be able to do it. Waving his hand, Tang Xiu said, no need to be that anxious to call me teacher. You still have to wait until I cure the patient before you address me like that. Also, the address should change. Changing the address? How should I address you as then? Dai Xinyue asked curiously. Tang Xiu said, Master. Dai Xinyue's eyes turned bright. She was so excited she almost jumped. As intelligent as she was, how could she have never heard the profound meaning of the word master? A person, especially from the modern era, might have many particular teachers, however, the number of masters was but very few. To be a genuinely formal disciple to a master, that meant that one would become a direct, successor disciple. Hurry up and finish your meal. We still have to give medical services in the afternoon. Tang Xiu said with a smile. In the evening. Tang Xiu had just finished the consultation of the last patient. He hurriedly left the hospital, with Dai Xinyue tagged along like his shadow behind his back, rushing towards South Gate Town. Master, your family lives here? Dai Xinyue's face was full of shock as she visited the villa. You came inside with me. If this place wasn't my home, someone would have already reported to the cops. Anyway, take a sit. I'll get something first. Tang Xiu said with a smile. As he came to the second floor, Tang Xiu took the body refining liquid he concocted before. He had learned about the conditions of the various cancers, and the body refining liquid definitely had a magical effect on the illness. While this liquid could strengthen the patient's body, on the other hand, it could also exterminate the cancer cells inside the patient's body. However, the efficacy of body refining liquid was rather too strong and not something ordinary people could withstand. Due to this reason, he needed to dilute the liquid, only then would he bring it to Sun Wenjing's house. The silver needle he brought from the hospital would also be of great use, as complementing silver needles with body refining liquid would be more effective. Back to the first floor, Tang Xiu then saw Gu Yin standing in front of Dai Xinyue with curiosity drawn on her face. Yin. Tang Xiu called her. Gu Yin turned around. As she saw Tang Xiu, she immediately ran over. Grabbing his hand, she said, Master, she said that she's also your disciple. Is it true? She's going to be. She hasn't yet formally become a disciple, though. But I'm preparing to accept her as my disciple. Said Tang Xiu. Are you going to teach her a cultivation technique too? Asked Gu Yin. Tang Xiu shook his head. No, she's going to learn something different from you. She wants to learn medical knowledge, to become a great expert in traditional Chinese medicine in the future. Master, the people I like the most are people who learn medicine. Being ill is very uncomfortable. And it's a good deed being able to cure patients. Gui suddenly understood and said with a smile. Having said that, she followed Tang Xiu in front of Dai Xinyue. Raising her small face, she said, Big sis, my name is Gu Yin. You can call me Yin later. Since we're apprentice sisters and you're my junior sister, you can tell me if someone bullies you. I'll help you to vent back at them.
Ah.
Right. I haven't given you any gifts yet. What? As surprised as she was, Dai Shengyue was dumbfounded. Looking, Gu Yin ran off. Her mouth twitched fiercely a few times. Why would she have to call that little girl senior sister? What was this? A joke? Tang Xiu serenely said, what she said is right. You'll be studying under me later than her, so it's right that you're only a junior sister. But since you have yet to officially acknowledge me as your master, you still have a chance to withdraw. Dai Xingyue replied with a peculiar tone, Master, just now she. Senior sister said something about cultivation technique. What does it mean? Are you teaching different subjects to the both of us? Yes. It's different. You don't need to ask what I teach your senior sister. If you perform well in the future, I'll tell you, and perhaps I'll teach you that subject as well. But if you don't, then you can only learn medical skills from me. With a calm expression, Tang Xiu replied. While suppressing her curiosity, Dai Shengyue nodded, I'll bear it in mind, master. Amidst the chatter, Gu Yin returned to the living room, holding a picture scroll in her hand and handing it over to Dai Shengyue, saying, Junior sister, I have nothing good to give you for now. But I'll give you my own painting. Please don't refuse it.